Hi everyone, this is Lisa from Canine Clips, and this is Charlie. And Charlie is a Bichon Havanese mix. Is that what her owner believes? She's not quite sure exactly, but that's what the vets have kind of determined for her, what the Charlie is. So I am going to do a full groom on her today. She has quite a bit of matting in her legs, and it's really clumped together. So it's quite matted in here, and it's quite matted in her chest. The top is really nice and good, but the legs are going to kind of determine what length I'm going to be performing on her. Her owner has also said that she doesn't like her feet being touched and may become a little bit nippy. So we'll see how she does first before I worry about that. And then we're going to try to keep her eyelashes as well. So first I'm going to start with trimming the face. She hasn't been able to get groomed for a little bit, so she's a little bit overgrown. So we're just going to kind of clean her up so she can see what's going on here. And we're going to keep those eyelashes as well. She has beautiful black eyelashes, so I'll give you a look at them later when I can get them out of here. As well. So if you're familiar with me, I've been grooming for about 15 years, just over here, just about 16 years here in the next month. And I don't use restraints when I groom. I like to just work with my hands with the dogs. And this is the first time I've worked with Charlie. So she's obviously been groomed before. She's about 10 years old. So she has been groomed before, but this is her first time with me. So this is how I work with any new dog or any dog that I work with. I don't use any restraints on them. And I hope that helps them to stay calmer as well. So we're going to see. The owner is just kind of, because she is a little bit overgrown, she's just kind of okay with whatever kind of thing we work out with. We kind of discussed what she'd like to see done. And I do that with everyone. I kind of have a little photo array of different lengths of the different clipper blades on different dog breeds for them to look at. And then they kind of select what they think would look the best on their dog. And of course, it all comes down to if the dog has mats in their fur as well. And we discussed that as well, which we know that Charlie does have quite a few mats in her legs. So it'll kind of determine what length we can do this time. And then for next time, we can also go a little bit longer. So we do have a big mat right here at the back of the ear. And I'm not going to use scissors. I will use the clippers because I don't want to get too close to the skin if I don't have to. So my goal is to try to keep the hair as long as possible because that is what the owner would prefer. So we will leave that. And the ears, she said, because the dog's ears get in her water all the time, we're going to trim them up a little bit. And then we can always change it. So I'm going to leave it kind of on the longer side still, but then when she comes and picks up, if she prefers a shorter cut, I can always change that up when she comes as well. So I'm going to have to use the thinning shears in here a little bit because there are some mats. And I don't want to have to take the ears really short. So instead of doing that, I use the thinning shears to get the mats out. And I got to comb those out. And I like to do the ears before I bath because they're a little bit harder to comb out when it's wet, and especially after a blow dry, because that really can tangle some stuff up sometimes. So really, I'm just trying to get the mats out right now, which there are a few, so that we can keep some length. But I will be trimming them down, so I'm going to trim them down a little bit now, just to get that bulk out, and we're going to round them up. So we're going to go from a long straight cut to a longer rounded cut, which kind of takes off some of that weight. But also gives it a nice long length to it still, but it's not as long, and it's still nice and fluffy and girly looking for Charlie. And at this stage, I'm just basically trying to get the bulk out. So it's not, we have a couple more stages to go. This, I'm just trying to get the majority of the bulk out. If there's any mats in the ears or tail, I work on those to get them out before I'm going to do the bath. And then after the bath, I like to trim the body more, or trim the body, I guess, and use the clippers on that. So this is all, the first stage I do all anything with scissors. Then I do the nails, the feet, and yeah, there's a little bit of a mat in there, which she is not too fond of me combing. So we'll use the finish shears some more. And this doesn't mean that I'm hurting her. This just means that she's not liking what I'm doing. And the owner has said that she has been nippy to other groomers in the past. So because there is a big mat there, I'm going to take that one out. Because we don't want to cause any extra stress if we don't have to. I'm going to take the bulk off right now. See if I can get some of those mats out. And that's what it all comes down to in the end, is the comfort of the dog. So if I have to cut it a little bit shorter than maybe the owner would like, then that's what I do, unfortunately. And hope they understand, because it really comes down to the comfort level of the dog. Okay, so I got the majority of the mats out. There's still some quite large ones at the back of the ear, and I'm not going to worry about those until I get the clippers out, because I can take those out and then I can hopefully keep some length, because we're not sure how short we're going to have to go on the body yet, so I don't want to cut shorter than I need to, so that it all kind of blends nicely. And again, I'm just trying to take the bulk off for now, but we're definitely got a ways to go. So I'm going to pluck the ears out. She just has a little bit of hair in her ears right now, but not very much. So I'll just take that out. You can see her ears are nice and healthy. They got a little bit of pink to them, but that's still healthy. They still got a nice light color. And as you can see, like I said, not very much hair in there, so that's good. Okay, so we're going to try her feet. Her owner says that she does not like her feet being done, so we will see how she does. I always start with the back one, because usually the front ones are more sensitive if they do have sensitive feet. You can tell she's a little bit nervous about me touching her feet. Okay, baby, I'm just going to move you so we can get in the camera. She's got lots of hair in here. As you can see, they're quite full. And she's not a big fan of me digging in here. So there actually are mats in here as well. She's not showing any signs of aggressive at all. She's just letting me know she doesn't like me touching her feet. So she's trying to move me, but definitely no signs of aggression. So that's pretty common, especially if the feet have been overgrown and there's quite a bit of matting in there. So there's mats in between the pads, which can make the feet sore. And I can see as well that the nails are a bit overgrown. So she's licking, which is fine, but it's not fine when I have the scissors out, so I don't want her to cut her tongue. So if she continues to lick, I would just put a cone on her just to prevent any injury for her, because I don't want her to get her tongue caught in there with my scissors. It's okay. And with this being my first time grooming her, so I'm going to give her a little bit more leeway, just to keep her comfort level. There, but it was very, very thick in there for me to get all that out. So there was some matting even in between the toes. As you can see right here, this is just one big chunk of a mat. So I'm believing that we are going to be trimming her a little shorter today. And just so we can get underneath all those mats, and then when she comes in next time, we're going to be able to do a little bit longer of a cut too. So I'm just going to trim her nails here. So she's putting her mouth on me, but not necessarily biting. So again, I'm just going to let her know that I'm not going to stop. It's okay. One more. There we go. And sometimes when their feet are overgrown like that, you know, their feet hurt, and the nails are a little bit longer, so they're a little bit more sensitive because their feet are sore. So again, the front ones are usually a little bit more sensitive than the back. And again, we can see that it's quite full of hair, and lots of matting in there. And again, I'm going to be a little bit sensitive again. So I'm just going to try to work with her here and work around her mouth. As long as she keeps it away, I'm pretty content with letting her do what she's doing. As I continue to do it too, I find usually the dogs that come in like this, once I start getting a few done, like usually the first two, then they realize what I'm doing to actually help them, because then their feet almost immediately start feeling a little bit better, I would think, because there's not that pressure on there with the mats pushing between the pads, and plus the nails aren't hurting them as well. Just kind of like when your toenails get a little too long and you just know it's time to cut them because they're pushing in your shoes. You know, that's obviously be a little bit different for a dog, of course, but it kind of gives you a sensation of how your feet even get sore just from that. So you can imagine how sore a dog's toenails would be, especially if they're curled right around and they're walking on them. These ones are just long, thankfully, so they're not curled or anything. But there's a lot of matting, so I think there's a lot of pressure on the feet, on the pads, because there's matting between the toes, which would cause some discomfort. All right, so we're getting the majority of it. So we just got to get between those pads underneath, which is where it's going to be more sensitive for her, because there is quite a bit. And I'm going to see if I can turn the camera for you to see that. I'll do my best to show you, but of course I'm just trying to get it out, so. And there's a big mat right there, which goes right in the pad. So it's basically the whole pad has a mat in it. And she laid right out of the way, so I'll show you again here. So the pad, the mat goes right through the pad there. So how you get those out is that you just start at the beginning. You don't have to put your head right there. And you just take a little bit out at a time. And you can see that it's quite matted. So it is slow and steady process, because of course you want to make sure you know where the tips are of your scissors. So you just want to take a little bit out at a time to loosen it out of there and kind of get underneath it. And just take it off kind of layer by layer. So that's one pad, one mat that's in there. And you can see how that would spread all her pads apart. So definitely the owner would have probably noticed her licking her feet quite a bit, because they would have been sore. And there's no way for the dog to alleviate that because they can't get the mats out. And there we go. There's the other mat. So these two mats were both in her pad in this one little area. So once you get it out, they kind of calm down a little bit because they realize what you're doing, and it doesn't hurt as much. They get that almost instant relief from you working in there. Okay, so since I got that out, I'm going to take this out because it is also matted. There we go. And again, I'm not going to try to get this perfect at this time, because once I'm done bathing, I'll come back with the clippers and we'll get that kind of, see what I can get to with the clippers, and then I can finish up with the scissors again to clean it up. So I'm going to do the nails now. Which again, her feet will be sensitive. And then I seen that she has a dew claw. So make sure we get that guy tucked in there. There we go. Got a little bit of matting in her face here. So again, I don't want to cause too much discomfort, so I'm going to kind of layer it, which will hopefully allow me to get that mat out. And I can't yet, so I'm going to use the thinning shears on her muzzle. Just so that we can keep some of it. Otherwise we're going to have to go shorter, which I still cannot get it out. So we're just going to go a little bit shorter again. until we can get that out. There we go. And there's another mat on this side as well. But these guys kind of come out as I have kind of cut it shorter already. There we go. All right, and just keep the eyelashes there. They're a little uneven right now, so I'll just take a little bit off to even them out, and then they can grow them out as the owner would like. And I'm just going to leave, trim a little bit off her muzzle here. And again, there's mats under there as well. So I'll get to them with the clippers. Okay, so now we're going to turn her to do her other feet. Let's see how they are. I'm assuming they're going to be in the same kind of condition. Relax. Oh, she wants to stand for this side. Alright, so again, they're very full. But as she gets used to me, she's going to, you can see she's keeping her face out of here now. A little bit better, because I think she's figuring out what I'm working on here, what I'm trying to accomplish for her. Alright. It's okay. But of course it's still uncomfortable, so now I spoke too soon. She knows, but she's, it's still, of course, going to be sore, so you can understand what she's feeling here. Hey, it's okay. Oh, hey, hey. This one's a little bit more matted than the other one. So again, just working with her comfort until she relaxes. One thing is that you just don't let go. You just kind of wait till she relaxes a little bit. So go with her pace until she lets me come back to it. It's really thick in there, so be sore again. And I've always used scissors in the pads. I've seen some groomers that use clippers, and I just never have learnt that way, so either way would work good, I guess, as long as you can get underneath those mats. But I guess I just have the one size of clippers too, so I would think they would be too big to get in there. But if it works, it works. So again, there's lots of matting between her toes. So again, that would cause some discomfort. So she's going to feel like a brand new girl here after we're done with her. There's still quite a bit of mats in those toes. So there, got those ones out. So that should feel a lot better for her. So we're gonna trim these nails off. Got two more, baby. Okay. What's your face? There we go. Okay. Put these away. Okay, and so now the front one, which is probably going to be, again, the more sensitive one again. I just see one of the nails in the back is bleeding, so I'm going to use my styptic powder, which is quite common in dogs once their nails have overgrown, because the part that bleeds also grows. So I just dip the nail in the styptic powder. And make sure it gets in there. And stays in there. And that is all. And then it should clot up. And that should be all we need to do. Now, sometimes they can start bleeding again during the bath. That's why I like to cut the nails again at the beginning, because it gives that extra time to clot during that whole grooming process in the bath, and then I can keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't start up again. But if it does, I can use the styptic powder again. And even, you know, sometimes I'll send some home with the owner as well if I think it might be a problem. But even still, it's just if they like to walk their dogs a lot, or if it's has some snow on the ground. If the dog is walking in the snow or on the cement, it can kind of scrape it off in the snow, because it's so cold. It actually thins it out, the styptic powder, and then it makes it bleed again. So you just got to keep them off the snow for about an hour or so. And that includes the rain, so any dampness. But like I said, I do give them a bath after this, so that's kind of how I test it out to make sure that it has clotted properly. So there is lots of mats in this one as well. So again, I'm just doing a little bit at a time to get under it. She likes to curl her feet on me here, so makes it a little harder. There we go. There we go. So that's one clump that was in her. Oh, you're welcome. Giving me a little lick there. It's got to feel a lot better getting that out of there. Okay, so that is the majority of that mat, thankfully. And then also, when I give her that bath, it can loosen up the fur in there too. So I may have to come back and just get some strands that come out that have loosened. But this way I get the majority of the bulk out. And, sorry, get all the mats out. Because it's a little harder to do when the fur is wet. I'm working on the feet and stuff. And I like to bath them before I clip them, just because it is a lot easier on the clippers, and then the clippers stay a lot cooler as well. But in here, I don't know if you can see, but it's all matted as well. And this kind of gives me a good idea of what I'm going to have to cut for length when I'm finding these mats in this area as well. So I've already talked with the owner. Like, she would like, you know, to keep her as long as she can, but also understands that she is matted and that we will have to do what we got to do. As I always say, the mats kind of determine the length of cut. So those are kind of what we fall back on. We can hope and wish for a longer cut, but if there's matting, it's best to just get it out. Then your dog can start from fresh, and, you know, it gives an opportunity for the skin to breathe properly. And that's very healthy for the skin. I often see in the springtime, after our winters here, dogs come in quite matted, And, you know, you can still cut them in the winter time, even though it's a little bit cooler for them. Because if they have those mats and they're constantly going in the snow and or rain and wet and dry, but if they're matted, the skin underneath there doesn't dry properly, and they're unable to lick themselves to, you know, dry it or clean it properly. And I do get some dogs that have some rashes, which isn't very nice for them. So they got some, you know, some rashes underneath there. So once I'm able to get that fur off, then we're able to clear that up for them, so then their skin can breathe properly. So I'm just going to comb out her tail here and trim it up, and then I'm going to give her a bath. I'll leave it a little bit longer for now. Actually, I'm going to trim a little bit more off because I know the body's going to be short too. So we'll just trim a little bit and then we'll come back to it to see how it matches up with the rest of the body. Alright. So I am just going to move her to the table or to the tub. I'm actually just going to grab a towel first because I don't have one in here. Because she also likes to jump, so I don't want her jumping out of the tub. So here we go. There she is. So with my bathing process, I have a raised tub. I guess you don't want to watch me. I have a raised tub, which I put them in, and then I have a shower head on a nice long hose that is very flexible. And then I have my water temperature set, so I just have to turn it up all the way to the maximum, and then it has it set to a certain temperature, so I never have to worry about it getting too hot for me. And the dogs are the most comfortable, and then I don't have to worry about adjusting it for them as it gets, you know, too hot or too cold, whatever the case may be. So it stays at a nice temperature for them, and I don't have to fiddle with all those. And then my shampoo is just a concentrated shampoo that I put in here, and then I add water to it. And then these are just bottles of old mustard bottle, I believe, a Heinz mustard bottle, and ketchup lid, so that when I turn it over and squeeze it, that's when it dispenses the shampoo, not when I just turn it over. So then I have some control of how much shampoo I put and where, kind of thing. And the shampoo I use is it's a concentrated, like I said, it's 50-to-1, and it's made up of essential oils. So I try not to use anything that has any harsh chemicals in it. And I've actually been using that same shampoo for about 12 years right now, I believe. So it's done me well. All my dog clients like it. And it just works really well getting that grime out and stuff. So we're just going to make sure we get everything kind of lathered up here. Okay. Give her a good rinse. And so with washing, you're going to make sure that the water doesn't go in the ears. I usually like to go from the top of the head and just let it go downwards, so it's going on the outside of the ear. But you don't want to go upwards along the face, just to make sure that it doesn't go into the ear canal. Alright. She's a dirty little puppy, you can tell by the watercolor. But she's got lots of hair on there, so there's lots of places for it to collect. So I do have a drain, and I have a little to catch all the hair in there. So that really helps, so I'm not clogging up my drains. Because when you're doing trimming and stuff beforehand, there's always going to be some sprays and hairs that fall off the body of the dog. Alright, so I'll get some of that hair out of there so the water will drain properly. Let her shake her a little bit out. Let's kind of wring those feet out. I can see that back foot, that nail is bleeding again, so once I get her out of here, I will put some more styptic powder on it. Hopefully the camera is still good and not getting wet. But I guess we will find out after. There you go, baby. Alright. Sorry, I just wanted to cover it while she was shaking. So hopefully that's clean for you. Alright, so I'll just put a towel on and get her up, and we'll go back to the grooming table. Alright, so I just have her, I'm just holding her right now. I'm going to wipe off the table a little bit, get that hair off, and I'm going to lower it a little bit for when I'm blow drying. Alright, now we'll put her up. And I do wear a mask when I groom, just because there's lots of little particles of hair that fly around when I'm grooming. So just a measure I take to protect me and my lungs for future problems that could arise. When you're planning on doing it long term, that does, all those little things do help you to stay healthy. At one point, about 6 years in, I did actually develop carpal tunnel, and I was able to reverse all that with some simple exercises from the Carpal Tunnel Institute, and I do have a video on that as well that showed you how I'm able to do that. And 10 years later, I still am carpal tunnel free. So she did jump off the table there. She's quick. Oh yeah, I'm gonna check that nail because it was bleeding in the tub. So I'll just put a little bit more styptic powder on it. Oh. It's not bleeding now, but I'm still gonna put some on, just because I know it's could start up again. So that just means I'm gonna have to make sure I keep a hand on her, keep her safe. Okay, so I'm gonna put some earmuffs on now, and we'll start the blow drying process. So I just used the blow dryer to take off the bulk of the moisture, but of course she's not dry, but it just gives me a base to start clipping with. And then I do a second blow dry after again. And just going over her legs and stuff, you can kind of see there's a big clump right here that's quite matted. So I know I'm not going to be able to start with a 3 3/4. I'm going to try starting with a 5, and hopefully I can get under it. I do use a split tooth, which helps with the mats, and we'll see if we can get under. I know I'll be able to do on the neck and head and stuff, because there actually isn't very many mats up here. So I'll just kind of work my way down to the where it is matted, because that's going to determine what length I'm going to use for clippers. And if it is too matted, I'm going to go to a number 7, as it is matted under here as well. Okay, so we're able to get under those. And we know that there's some big clumps of mats behind the ears as well. So we'll see if I can get behind those. And just when you're doing that, you always make sure you pull the ear nice and tight, so that you're not catching any of the skin of the ear. Alright, there we go. So that one got a big, nice clump out of there too. Okay, so we're going to see if I can get these guys out. I'm just going to work on this leg to see if that'll work, or if I have to go to a shorter blade. It is quite matted. And for the most part, we're able to get under it. But of course, it's not too pleasant for her. And any of this grooming process, I'm sure. I'm sorry, she keeps turning. So I'm going to have to go to a number 7 on her, just because she is quite a bit matted. I got to get under those mats. The 5 was doing okay, but it still was catching a lot, and I really don't like to cause that stress to them. You can see there's quite a bit of mats as well. Under the armpits, so I like to go to number 10 in this case to really get under those mats. Are going to have to take an intermission. So this will be stage 1 of 2, and I will come back to finish the rest of the groom. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.